Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guests, we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges, and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you hit that follow button so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted to be joined once again today by Simon Nichols, founder and CEO at Thrive. So, welcome, Simon. And in today's episode, we're going to be discussing the importance of taking time to reflect on your own mental health, or to put it another way, a mental health MOT. And just before we get into that, for this week's icebreaker question, as we're talking about MOTs, do you have a dream car or other vehicle, Simon? And while you have a think about that, there's a car I'm absolutely in love with at the moment, and that's the Audi e-tron RS GT. That just looks an absolutely amazing motor. But I've always loved Saabs. You know, I've owned a couple of Saabs, and I've in mind getting a Saab 93 convertible for like a summer and a weekend driving. But I need my drive done first so I can get all the cars on the drivers. You know, I wouldn't be driving in the depths of winter or things like that. And that. But anyway, that's me. I'm rambling now, Simon. What's your dream car or vehicle?
I love the fact that even though you've reached the I guess the pinnacle of your career, that you're still worried, as the common man would be, about how many cars that you can fit on your driveway. I think that's it's the down to earth that I love about Mr. Craig Dale. And I've so my dream car for many years was very much similar to you, Saab. I loved Saab. My dad had a Saab. It was right up there. And then I managed my first company car, bang, straight in, Saab 93. And so I'd sort of realised that dream quite early on. Like yourself, I'd love to have a Saab convertible. I definitely don't have a drive anywhere near big enough for it because I have three children that drive, so I'll never get a look in on that. But the thing that's keeping me going at the moment is there's three cars actually. I'm gonna give you a choice of three. I'd really love a Ford Ranger. I've driven a few Ford
Okay.
Rangers, but I would have no use for it. I have no use to put stuff in the back. I don't build, I don't do things, I don't pick things up. Kelly, my wife, hates Ford Rangers, so that's pretty much never going to happen. I do like the really pimped up black Range Rover Discoveries. But again, I don't sell drugs. I don't pick things up. I've got probably no use for a really pimped up Range Rover. So then I thought, actually, what would I really like? And I've always loved the Ford Mustang. And I think if I could have anything, I think it'd be a Ford Mustang. Probably want it in electric blue. And I'd probably drive it for about a couple of weeks and think I don't really need this. And then I'll go back to my Kia Niro that I've got at the moment, which is just incredible.
So, muscle car. The muscle car is the way to go for you, Simon. Oh, there we go. Two guys, one with his convertible, one with his muscle car, going through a midlife crisis. And while we're on that point, mental health MOTs. And, you know, in our previous episodes, we've discussed ways we can all better our mental health. And, you know, just building on that, we'd like to talk about how people can maybe take a step back and assess their own mental health state. And just to kick us off on that, Simon, you know, what changes should people perhaps be looking out for when they take stock of their own mental health?
So, before I tackle that extremely incredible opening question, I just want to sort of touch on the fact you said about our midlife crisis. Now, I happen to know that both of us are sort of have moved out of that little bracket of 40 to 49, which was has hit me hard. But do you know what? I'm happy to live to 100 if right now is my midlife crisis. But moving on to what I feel is the mental health, and I always like to think of it as a sliding scale, and you'll probably remember this, Craig, as the mental health continuum, and it's the points where we move from, I guess, what we might consider good mental health or okay mental health, and it's the point we start experiencing poor mental health. So when when my personal mental health, I measure it almost on a daily basis. And the way that I measure it is how empowered am I to do something today? Do I feel like I can do something today? And I know I have to get up and I have to go into work and but how empowered am I? How do I feel doing that? Am I looking forward to it? And if I get a day where I'm not, I then think, why was I not empowered to do something? Why did the day consist of me maybe having a nap more than I should have done, maybe procrastinating? And I then think back to, did I get a good night's sleep? Have I eaten well today? Have I had drunk enough fluids? So I think you've got to look inwards. You've got to look at both your physical state. Am I dragging my feet? Is it a bit lethargic? Is there something I'm worried about? And that's a sort of very wide topic, and we can talk all day about what people are worried about. But I really think you wake up in the morning, have you leapt out of bed or have you dragged yourself out of bed? And if you're somewhere in the middle, that's okay. But you think, I've got to do something today, maybe to boost my mental strength. I've got to do something. Maybe today I've got to boost my physical strength as well. Maybe it's exercise that I'm lacking. Maybe I do need to have a healthy breakfast. So I think that first thing you've got to do is right first thing in the morning is just think, how do I feel today? And you can gauge it. You can gauge it on a 1 to 10. Think of 10 as being you've leapt out of bed and everything's amazing and you're going to all towers and it's the best day of your life ever. And then 1 is that crushing news you once had and almost you could not get out of bed. And then sort of gauge yourself. If you're around 5 and 6, that's pretty good. Go on, do stuff in the day. If you're rating yourself about a 3 or a 4, you might need to give yourself a boost.
That's kind of interesting because I think just coming on account of that, I think sometimes the fact that you've actually got out of bed is a good thing anyway, no matter how difficult it was.
Completely. And I'm here. I am sort of saying, yeah, how great it'd be to be a 3 or 4. Some people get up every day and they're a 1, but they got up, and that's their win. That's their they managed to make the bed. Ooh, that's another win. So you're absolutely right. We do need to, if our natural state is a 3, and we're just, there's loads of stuff going on in our lives, it's absolutely fine as well. It's when we notice ourselves move from a 3 or a 2 to a 1, or when the 1 is, I can't get out of bed. So you're absolutely right. The scales are so, yeah, I don't like scales personally, but I think it's one thing that we can all latch onto. We all understand a scale, but one person's 10 might be another person's 2. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that one, Craig. We do need to be mindful of how do we normally feel.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, uh, we've talked about it many times on this. About I get up quite early and go for a walk to start my day, and there's some days that I literally have to say get out. I have to drag myself out of bed. But the fact that I've done that and then I start my day and have my walk, at the end of that walk, I feel so much better. I've done it, I've started my day, I'm ready for my day now. And there's been the odd day when I haven't done it, and sometimes now I don't feel quite ready for the day ahead if I haven't done that. And that's interesting. And just back on the whole MOT thing, because obviously self awareness is very important, and to regularly checking on your mental health, as you say, I suppose will help you develop a greater self awareness and understand your own emotions, thoughts, and overall well being. Uh, and will that then help you kind of recognize signs of distress, stress, or imbalance?
It should do because if you know yourself, if you know what maybe what your triggers are, if you know what your normal state is, then you can see those changes. And they might be staring you in the face. They might be fundamental. You've got financial worries, you've got work worries, you might have family health worries. You might have a really serious life impact, physical illness. All of these things are, we know will impact someone, but it could just be you're out of routine. And as you said, Craig, what happens when you don't get out of bed in the morning? So you don't get out of bed, which means you haven't completed the task, which means you don't get your dopamine because you were really good at completing the task, which is getting out of bed. You haven't gone downstairs. You haven't seen the sunrise, which you normally love to experience. You didn't go out for a walk. You haven't got your endorphins. Boom, boom, boom. And you feel potentially that you've failed because you didn't get up and do the walk that you do every day because you know it makes you feel better. So when you think about what might, just not doing something that you normally do could impact a change in the way that you're thinking. Always go back to the way that we think affects the way that we feel, affects the way that we behave. And if you wake up in the morning and you think, I can't go to the gym today. And then later in the day, I am just so exhausted, but I didn't do the gym. Why is that? You didn't get your endorphins. You didn't get that stimuli that you need to wake up to be able to brave the day. So actually, not doing something which wears you out and tires you out can actually make you more exhausted a little bit later because you got more of that melatonin, more of that hibernation drug because you stayed in and you shut your curtains.
And back to that, you mentioned, why am I feeling like this? What are the kind of questions people can ask themselves to help gauge their current mental health state?
Again, we all know when we're feeling, and let's just call it okay. We're not at the top of our game. We're not, but we're okay. We're getting by. And am I the same as I felt yesterday? How did yesterday go for me? Again, if I was to rate yesterday, would I say it was a good day? Was it a poor day? Or was it a great day? And I know I can't have yesterday every single day, but how do I feel compared to yesterday? And then if I feel a little bit different to yesterday, why is that? Is it because I didn't get enough sleep? Is it because I'm worrying about something, as we said again? Or is it just that yesterday was a really great day and I can't always have great days? It doesn't mean that my mental health has been impacted. It just means, oh, okay, today's going to be one of those days. Now, what can I do to boost myself? What can I do to make today a great day? And sometimes it is talking to ourselves. It's sometimes, you know what, I'm going to have a really great day. There's a research has been done. Positive people who believe they're lucky tend to be more lucky. Why is that? I think it's lucky that I got caught in traffic because I was able to finish the podcast. How lucky was I? I got stuck in traffic and I was late So it's just the way that you can think about something. The way you think affects the way you feel, affects the way you behave. So you've just got to ask yourself, am I going to have a great day today? I think I am. And you're probably halfway there to having a great day.
That's it, because that reflects also back on things we've discussed in the past and how we internalize what happens to us or what is said to us, etc. on the day. Like you said, they're stuck in traffic. Do I think that, I want to get to where I'm going, or do I think that, well, I can finish listening to this great song or whatever and sing along with it, or like you said, finish listening to a podcast, etc.
We know our community, but we don't know yours yet. Why not share the benefits of your UK&I Sub membership with those who don't know about us? The UK&I Sub referral scheme rewards you for helping to grow and develop our community. You can check out the link in the description to find out more about how you can get involved. Terms and conditions apply. We hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
And I suppose how we internalize the things that happen to us through the day has a massive impact on our mental health.
It does, because as you know, we focus on negativity. 5 times more focus on negativity than we do on positivity. So let's say we have 5 things that go really well for us today. The lovely cup of coffee. I had some, great cake. I listened to an amazing SUGTalks podcast. All of these sort of things. But I had a really rubbish email. We'll get home, and how was your day? I had this really rubbish email. We won't look at the 5 things that were amazing today. If anyone's got those wonderful to-do lists, I'm a huge fan of to-do lists, but I'm also a huge fan of to-done lists. To-do lists are almost set up to make you fail, especially if you put more than 3 things on. And especially if you put something on that's really difficult and you know it's going to immediately fall off your to-do list. Because sometimes you put 3 things down and you actually get to the end of the day and you've only done 2. You haven't, you've done 18 things, but you've done them separately to your to-do list. So when you've done a to-do list, do a to-done list. What did I do today? And you can then transfer that onto, and actually, I got these 18, 19 things done today. I'm pretty incredible. But again, it's the way that you approach that. If you think it's been a positive day because I've got 2 of my things on my actual to-do list and I've got 18 things that weren't even on my to-do list, that's amazing. Or I just focus on the one thing I didn't do, ergo I failed. So it's just how we approach and how we think about a situation.
Yeah, my wife used to put to-do lists on our fridge for me, jobs around the house, and then she learned none of them really get done anyway, so there's no point. And, it's now, and like I've said to you before, look, at the end of the day, if a man says he's going to do something, he will do it. There's no need to remind him every 6 months. And another thing, when we think about that mental health element, and I suppose doing kind of your checks on yourself, your regular checks on yourself, like you said, on a daily basis, how am I feeling this morning, how was yesterday, etc. I suppose that then leads into possible early identification and an intervention to stop kind of any mental health issues escalating, perhaps?
Completely. We talk about a daily check-in. Whoa, let's have a half-hour check-in. Let's have an hour check-in. Let's feel good. We struggle as humans to concentrate on anything more than 25 minutes. As any listener of these podcasts will tell, Craig, you see after 25 minutes, you'll see we just have a laugh. But that concentration level goes in all of our, even if we're doing something we love, 25 minutes is round about where we lose that attention element. So we should be having a break every 25 minutes. And then we should be looking back and reflecting, was that a really useful use of my time? Has anything happened in that 25 minutes that has impacted me? If so, what do I need to do now? Do I need to take a big deep breath in, do some breathing exercises? Do I need to do a little bit of meditation? Do I need to go outside, smell the roses, do a bit of mindfulness? How do I feel now? And let's do that. Let's do that on this podcast. You're listening to this podcast. Hopefully, you're in a lovely position. You're maybe a lion in the grass, whatever that looks like. How do you feel right now? Get yourself a gauge. Find out your normal, because your normal might not be someone else's. So there's no all the best advice in the world. You know you best. Are you feeling okay? Or is there certain elements of your life you might need some help with, some support with? Financial difficulties. You might be worried about your physical health. You might be worried about something else. Should I go and talk to someone? We cannot stress just how important talking to someone is. And it's not just that you've halved the problem, you've shared the problem. By talking to someone, you actually compartmentalize why you're having those feelings and thoughts in the first place. It allows you to do something different. You've got financial difficulties, you start talking openly to someone about it. They tell you about their impact, and then you think, oh, actually, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that. There are options that come available to you, but you've got to ascertain what's your normal. How am I feeling today? Best way to do it? Write it down. Get that journal out. Get a little pad next to you. How am I feeling today? Put your own scale in. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling okay. I'm not feeling very good at all. That's very simplistic. But you can go to different levels of that. How am I doing today? It's got to be you. It's got to come from you.
And I suppose talking about it brings it out into the open and hopefully helps reduce the stigma that still hangs around us talking about our mental health and our mental state, especially in men. because I think, we've talked about this before, that, men have more stigma attached to that. And I suppose by breaking that stigma and really promoting conversations, if I then take a step into an employer's shoes, how can employers support employees in talking about mental health MOTs and helping employees down the line of running their own MOTs on themselves, if you like?
Yeah, so employers is a wonderful place to start, and potentially most people listening to this podcast will have an employer or will be an employer. And I've recently been doing a lot of keynotes and a lot of facilitated discussions around inclusion. And it's the big topic at the moment, whether it's DEI, EDI, however you want to get and it's not new. It's been around for years. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a diversity of staff? Everyone was equal, we had equality, and everyone felt included. But you can put up a strategy, but it's until you actually work that strategy. So I think the safest and best way that a company can look after its employees is to create an environment where they can feel psychologically safe. Now, psychological safety means different things to different people, but overwhelmingly, what it means is I can be myself. I can bring myself into the office, whether that's sexuality, neurodiversity, mental health, state of mind, ethnicity, whatever that looks like. It's okay to be me. But it goes a lot further than that, because it's about being able to make mistakes. It's about being non-judgmental. If we create that culture and that level of inclusivity, actually talking about your mental health becomes really easy, because I feel safe enough to do that. And I think the problem with a lot of employers is they don't make it a psychologically safe environment, a space to be. Maybe there's still the banter. Maybe there's still elements that I don't really understand the menopause. So it's a little bit about education, but it's about that culture. And if you get that culture right, and if the people at the top are talking the right language, and the people, and it's horrible, it's not on the bottom, but the real people are doing all the real work. If they're talking the right language, and if for instance, if someone is in the workplace and there's old employees and they've been there for years and they're talking in a certain way, and you don't find that way to be safe, you don't feel safe in that environment, there's nothing wrong with going up, if you feel able to, and explaining to those individuals that whilst it might have been okay to talk like that 30 years ago, now you don't feel safe with them having that conversation. Now, that might change the way they interact with each other. They might choose to use different language, or they might just choose to ignore you, in which case actually you can then go to your inclusivity leader, whether that's HR, and just say, actually, look, something's uneasy here. I don't like the language that's being used, because it's not okay to tolerate that type of interference in your psychological safety, especially in the workplace, which should be a safe space to go to. So I would say that get the culture right, make people feel included, and you'll create a safe space for people to talk about their mental health. And I think that's what's been missing.
And on that point, so we talked about employer-employee, but there's also colleagues, and you mentioned an example there of colleagues speaking in a way. So how can colleagues support each other as well? Because sometimes there is always going to be that reticence sometimes to talk to your boss about something, because no matter, I think sometimes whatever the culture, however open the culture, sometimes there is that stigma of talking up the chain, whereas talking to a colleague is probably a lot more easier first step for people. So how can colleagues help each other?
Number one thing that you can do to support someone is listen. Listen to what they're actually saying. Now, you could say, well, I need to notice it first, Simon. Yes, potentially. But what about if you put out an aura that you are ready to listen? You are here to support someone. And you think, well, how do I put out that aura? Because I'm a little bit shy. You put it in your email signature. I'm here to talk. Oh, sorry, I'm here to listen. If you want to talk to me, I'm here to listen. Yes, of course, you can go down training routes, mental health first aiders, etc. You can a lot of work I'm doing with one company at the moment. They have wellment buddies, so they have buddies literally in place to look after each other. So you can set up a sort of a practice, if you like, or a group of individuals, or just be that person. And look around your office now. If you listen to this podcast and you're in one of those lovely open plan offices and there's 2 or 3 people in there, just go and say hello. Go and say hello, smile. Everything okay? Just ask the question. Ask the question, then be prepared to listen. The thing that people struggle with is they think they've got to be a trained counsellor or therapist to talk to people, especially if they start pouring out situations which might be impactful for them. But for the most part, people just like to be listened to. They like to have their thoughts and feelings verified. Whether or not you can fix it is entirely, that's not the point. You listened to me, and I'm grateful for that. So maybe you can just put in at the bottom of your email signature, Craig Dale, I'm here to listen. You need to talk to me. I'm here for you. I think it can be as simple as that. Just, again, problem shared, problem halved.
Thank you. And what one of the elements you mentioned there was around professional help, and is there, I suppose, a time, or when do you feel it's the right time, perhaps, that people should be thinking about professional support if they don't seem to be getting anywhere?
Well, this goes back to a lot of conversations I have with organisations where they go, yes, we've got our employee assistance program. And I go, fantastic. Can you make sure you never use it? And they go, oh, no, Simon, it costs us a lot of money. We need to be using the employee assistance program. And you're thinking, well, hold on, the Royal National Lifeboat Institution costs a lot of money, but they'd really rather not use it. They'd really rather not go and rescue someone. And please don't get me wrong, I think EAPs are essential, because the problem is people do need to use them because they have gone on too far or too long. So what we can do 2 things here. We can be more proactive. So we can put in a strategy, we can put in training, we put in education, we make it easier for people to talk to, which is a fantastic thing. But for the vast majority of individuals, they've gone too long with their thoughts and feelings. They've maybe had these confirmed, their unconscious bias has been confirmed by things they've read in the newspaper. So suddenly we get to the point where people actually are already struggling. We saw that massive increase of depression diagnosis, 5.6 million people in 2019. 11.2 million people in 2022. So we've seen a doubling of those individuals, but it's because we're recognizing it now and we're being more open about it. So I think what it really boils down to is that, yes, let's have that proactive element in there. But if people do need that professional support because of what you're hearing, signposting immediately. If you do have an employee assistance program, ring them up, get onto that program as quickly as possible, get a GP appointment, do whatever it is you need to do to get that support. And that sort of transcends, another thing that we're talking about a lot at the moment, which is obviously neurodiversity support in the workplace. And it's, we quite often see that mental health crossover because people are not being supported in the right way, that psychological safety isn't there. So again, it's really important to make everybody aware that the support is there in the first place. And as a peer support, as a mental health first aider, your primary goal, hopefully, if someone is revealed that reveals to you that they've got ongoing anxiety or depression, and yet they've not sought professional help, is to get that professional help as soon as possible.
Thank you. And just reflecting on looking after our own mental health, perhaps back to what we were originally talking about understanding and giving ourselves a mental health MOT again. What are the benefits to what are the benefits to me as an individual if I regularly give myself a mental health MOT? Like you said, on a daily basis, I reflect. Okay, let's start with getting out of bed. How did I get out of bed today? How am I feeling, etc. So, what are the benefits of doing that to me?
So the benefits, let's go straight into, let's go straight for the jugular. Let's go straight to the physical health benefits. We know that depression, anxiety, stress, etc., has huge impacts on our heart. It has huge impacts on our immune system. It has huge impacts on our ability to pick up viruses or injuries. So if we start to feel better mentally, we will be helping our heart. We will be improving our blood pressure. We will be increasing our immune system. We could potentially be saving our life. And we take it back down to the bare minimum. We are saving our life. We are thinking healthier, which will actually have a huge impact on our physical health. It will also start to reduce maybe the thoughts associated with depression, the thoughts associated with anxiety, the worry. It would actually start to quiet our mind. So the irony of mental health is that if we do nothing about it, it actually exacerbates and creates even poorer mental health to the point where we might need to go and get that professional support. But actually, if we start to focus on it and to build it up, even if it's day by day, just to feel a little bit better than you did yesterday, you will have a huge impact on your physical health. You'll start to feel better. You start to feel more energized. You start to do more because the hardest thing is to start, isn't it? But actually, you start to develop, and maybe you do more mindfulness, and maybe you do more meditation, and maybe you become at peace with some of the thoughts and feelings that you've been having. So it's off the scale, unfortunately. You start really small, feel a little bit better, you're going to impact your physical health. You start to think big and start to think, actually, today's going to be a great day. Start to be more positive. You're going to impact your thoughts, which in turn will then give you another boost to allow you to then take your physical health a little bit better, eat healthily, get better sleep. The whole Joe Wicks sort of triple whammy, eating healthily, getting more exercises and sleeping better starts to become a natural way of life.
Thank you. So, if summarising that in a way, listening to what you were saying there, Simon, having that self-awareness, you're going to improve your quality of life. We've talked about reducing the stigma of actually engaging in discussions around mental health. You're taking Actually, by taking more care of ourselves, we're also building resilience to things that come our way, and what I suppose we call our bounce back ability to any of those negative things that hit us in life. We can bounce back from it quicker just by understanding ourselves and how we react to these things. So, yeah, thank you very much for that. And as we come towards the close of this discussion, are there any other tips you want to share with our listeners to improve their own mental health?
I think it's going back to the pillars. If we think about those 5 pillars of well-being, we're thinking about that routine. Get some routine in your life. Do things that make you feel good. We then start to tackle our physical health. We get a little bit more exercise, and exercise doesn't have to be. I've now joined a gym. I'm paying for a gym. That means I'm getting healthier. It just means getting out a little bit more. Maybe some walking. Maybe going to having a swim, whatever that looks like. You start to do a little bit more physical activity, you start to get a bit hungrier. So at that point, you can then start to look at your food, what your food intake is. Our food fuels our mind. Serotonin, 80% of that is created in our gut. We get our gut biomes right. We start to feel better. So here we are. We've got a nice routine going on. We're getting up every morning. We're doing a little bit of exercise. We're then starting to eat a little bit healthier because we're feeling a bit healthier. And actually, we start to go to bed a little bit earlier. And as we go to bed a little bit early, we start putting our phones away a little bit early. We start being more engaged with each other. Our relationships start to improve. We get a better night's sleep, which in turn makes us get up a little bit earlier in the morning, start that routine, and so on and so forth. And then the fifth pillar is really, well, how does that all make me feel? How do I put all of that together? How do I now react in my social circumstances? Is it that I now introduce mindfulness and meditation in my life? Is it that I get rid of tech on a Sunday? Is it that I start to do more things? By getting those four first principles right, the fifth pillar is actually starting to look after myself, starting to be more me. I've now got, thanks to my employer, who's gone down a whole culture and inclusion route, I now feel more psychologically safe. I'm looking after my physical health, I'm eating better, I'm sleeping better, I've got a great routine, and all of that together is making me a fitter, healthier me.
Simon, thank you. Thank you once again for your time, your insights, and your vast knowledge in this area, and for helping our members and our listeners on that journey. And to our listeners, I hope you enjoyed the conversation, found it valuable, and please remember that everything we've talked about on these episodes point to the fact that your mental health is just as important as your physical health, and taking proactive steps to care for yourself is crucial for leading that fulfilling and balanced life. So thank you very much for listening. Please look out for further mental health sessions that will be coming for discussion with Simon and his team. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. Lastly, please do follow the events section on our website, as we also run regular positive mental health sessions with Thrive, and you can find the links there. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and stay happy.